And with stronger and more significant preparations for the conflict between Europe and Russia, Serbia must preserve its peace. That is our... It sounds redundant, but I want to particularly stress the paramount priority to get out of all of this, but given the environment we're in, we cannot rule out the possibility of an attack on the territory of Serbia and the Serbian people. Simultaneously, we will reinforce our tank, artillery, and rocket artillery units, and above all, we will invest the most significant funds and the greatest energy into establishing new units that will, in these so-called optimized battalions and brigades, hold a truly special position, and not as imediate, always special units that will operate the most modern anti-aircraft defense systems and our air forces, including unmanned aerial vehicles, drones.
We invest a significant amount in...
You would be quite surprised if you knew just how many unmanned aerial vehicles we currently have in our storage facilities, including those kamikaze drones, and we are actively purchasing and will continue to acquire even more. Soon, by the end of March, or at the very latest by the beginning of April, I anticipate the grand opening of the first major factory right here in our country. Drones. And I proudly emphasize that we will be talking about highly sophisticated drones, not just any. That we are satisfied with our Mosquito 2, but rather with highly sophisticated drones that we are developing with a major foreign power. I would also like to say that I am extremely concerned about the situation in the world. Tensions are present everywhere, extending from the Middle East, and they are escalating between various distinct regional powers. Not just what we've known for 40, 50 and 60 years, but new tensions are emerging between major powers, major regional powers in the Far East, as you can see from yesterday's and today's news about the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, not to mention the ever-growing. And with stronger and more significant preparations for the conflict between Europe and Russia, Serbia must preserve its peace. That is our... It sounds redundant, but I want to particularly stress the paramount priority to get out of all of this, but given the environment we're in, we cannot rule out the possibility of an attack on the territory of Serbia and the Serbian people. After all, it wasn't without good reason that they formed those military alliances that were both unnatural and quite indecent, and if you want to call them that, even unprincipled ones. They formed every single one of them because of Serbia.
Earlier, Serbian President Aleksandar Vucic announced that the country's only oil refinery, NIS, would halt its operations after the U.S. refused to issue a permit for a majority Russian-owned facility. It is to be noted that Vucic is considered pro-Putin. He also sought entry in the European Union, but is still close to Russia and China.
As we currently possess no such indications, today the Minister of Mining and Energy, Dubravka Đedović-Handanović, is scheduled to inform the oil industry of Serbia that there are absolutely no signs or indications that the Americans will be granting an operating license for the refinery, a situation which, in accordance with NIS's own prior decision, will consequently lead to the complete cessation of the refinery's operations. Will they do it today, tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow? That's entirely their concern. They will certainly do it quickly, because today, while they keep it in what we call the warm phase or warm circulation, they are losing 370,000 euros daily, and it is entirely their company's business when they decide to completely shut down the refinery. Just so you are aware, the very moment payment transactions with NIS cease, and today we agreed, taking on our own risk, at the risk of the Republic of Serbia, at the risk that our central bank might also be sanctioned, at the risk that our commercial banks might also be sanctioned, to ensure payment transactions by the end of the week and beyond. So, today, Tuesday, and tomorrow, Wednesday, and the day after tomorrow, Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday will all have payment transactions. So NIS has ample time to pay its employees. It has ample time to pay all its suppliers. It has ample time to prepare its employees for everything that's coming. We don't believe there's any need for panic. We don't believe there's a need for any rationing or special measures. As we stated, we'd finalize the whole process by January 15th. So when people know there's enough fuel, and the issue isn't with fuel itself, but simply to fill their tanks, there won't be any problems. There is fuel, all petroleum products are available. We will wait, but that is the price we are paying to demonstrate our correctness towards our Russian partners, to show how much we do not wish for anything to be nationalized, and I am sorry that all others have not shown that same kind of correctness towards Serbia. We don't really spend much time thinking about anything that we have in sufficient quantity. Concerning the first question and the so-called preemptive strikes against Russia, or more accurately, preventive military actions on Russia, as one of the NATO leaders explicitly stated they were considering this, when I personally informed you they were thinking about it and preparing themselves, just as I was fully aware that the other side was also making its own preparations. For a possible answer to that, which honestly isn't really a huge secret, you can actually see this happening every single day. All you need to do is carefully read the words of others. Everyone was saying, aha, here's the drama queen just making things up. I don't even know what else she's going on about, etc. Unfortunately, that's the reality in which we live. The significant successes of the Russian military on the front lines, which the NATO Secretary General himself was compelled to acknowledge, and which anyone objectively observing the situation must ultimately confirm. It is sufficient to observe that they have captured Pokrovsk, or what the Russians refer to as Krasnoarmysk, that they are now at the very entrance to Krasny Liman, or simply Liman, and that they have also seized Kupiansk and Volchansk. From the entry point into Siversk to the entry point into Konstantinovka, literally, Gulyapolye, or Hulyai-Polye as the Ukrainians themselves call it, in the Zaporizhzhia region. So when do you see that? You must not lose sight of the fact that the Russians at some point had some reservations regarding the fact that they still consider Ukrainians to be their friends and brothers. Where there are preemptive strikes against Russia, one would not be surprised at all by an incomparably fiercer response from Russia than anything we have witnessed so far in Ukraine, including tactical nuclear weapons, not to mention something even more devastating than that. So, what kind of world do we live in? I can't turn anything off anymore, and I don't understand anyone in the world. I guess when blood rushes to everyone's head, when adrenaline takes over, few want to think about peace or compromise. Compromise becomes a forbidden word.